and first of all, congratulations, because if you're watching this video, it means that you are a brand new owner of a Pfaff Expression sewing machine. Now, there are two expressions. There is the Pfaff Expression 710 and the Pfaff Quilt Expression 720. Everything we cover in this video is going to be relevant to both those machines, and it's designed to get you started and get you going with your new sewing machine. So we're going to go through the features and cover the basics just to make sure that when you get it out the box, you are happy to get sewing with it straight away. Now, like I said, everything we cover will cover both machines. However, we have got the Quilt Expression 720 in this video. Now, we're going to go through the features to start with. This probably is an upgrade from a previous machine. It might be that you've not necessarily had a Pfaff sewing machine before, so there are a few different features that might be new to you. The first one I want to talk about is, and it is a sort of a unique feature for Pfaff, and it is what we call the IDT, which is a built-in walking foot. And so it's on the back of the machine, and you can engage it for various different types of sewing. So if we just zoom in, twist that around a little bit. So on the back of the machine here, we can see there is a black lever which you pull down and it slots into the back of your presser foot. Okay, and this is what is the IDT. So it is giving you another set of feed dogs from the top as well as your set on the bottom. And like I said, it goes into the back of the presser foot. So on some of the feet that come with the machine, you will see that there is a slot in the back. Any foot that has got that on means that you can use the IDT with it, which means it's really versatile. So you can use it with your zipper foot, you can use it with your 1/4 inch foot, you can use it with all sorts of different sewing feet that are optional extras. And what it's designed to do is to help give you that perfect feed of your fabric from both the top and the bottom. So it's great for layers, it's great for stretch, tricky fabric that may struggle to feed through the machine. And it's really easy to disengage. You just pull it down and it goes back into the machine here. There are some stitches on the machine that you won't be able to use the IDT for, but again, the machine will indicate when it is suitable or not to use the IDT. And like I said, it's just at the back of the machine, which means it's not big, it's not bulky, it's not getting in the way when you're sewing. And it works in reverse as well as forwards. So there are some decorative stitches that you can use it with. But like I said, that is a really great feature that is on the Pfaff sewing machines. Now, with both machines, you will get a range of accessories that come as standard. Normally you get extra bobbins, you get your zipper foot, blind hem foot, feet to do the decorative stitching on the machine, and the buttonhole foot as well. You can pop them all into your accessory tray on the front of your machine here, and you've got the storage at the back as well. So there is plenty of storage for all your accessories and your extra bobbins. The other features on the Expression machines, you will find you've obviously got your colour touch screen, and you can use your finger or you can use a stylus if you prefer. It's entirely up to you. So that's really nice and clear and easy to see. We have got speed control, we have got needle up and down, and we have got scissors. We'll go through these in more detail when we start sewing. You've got automatic presser lift up and down, so you can either just start sewing by using your foot control, or you can use the buttons on the machine here. And you've got your reverse button and you've got your start stop. So you don't have to use your foot control, it does still come with one, but you can use the start stop button if you prefer. A couple of other things before we get started. We're going to go through threading up, winding a bobbin, some basics, but there'll be some top tips there just to make sure that every time you thread up, it's going to give you the best results. What's great about the Expression machines is the bobbin is really easily accessible. So to take the cover off, you're just pulling that down like so, and actually on here, this circle bit on the bobbin cover actually acts as a magnifier as well. So you can just see that there, that magnifies anything that you put over. So that's quite useful to have. And what I like is that this needle plate, if you need to clean out underneath, so recommended is to regularly clean out where your bobbin case is, get all the fluff out of it, especially if you do a lot of quilting. It's quite surprising how much debris can get underneath. But all you need to do is take your screwdriver and just pop off that plate like so. So there's no screws, you don't have to worry about sort of unscrewing things and losing your screws. This little bit comes out here, and then your bobbin case comes out like so, and then you can get a little brush in there really easily to clean on a regular basis in between the feed dogs as well. And then that just goes back in like so. Remember to put that on the top first, and then the stitch plate goes in the back and push down. So like I said, it's really easy to get underneath there if you need to clean it out, or if you do get a jam of thread underneath, it is really easily accessible. So we're going to get started straight away with how to wind a bobbin and how to thread at the machine. So I'm going to get an empty bobbin. Now, like I said, you do get spare bobbins with your expression machine, and if you do need to purchase more, then all I will say is make sure you are getting the correct bobbins for your machine. So the expression machines are a category J. So if you're looking through the accessory book, or if you're looking at accessories online, then make sure that whatever you are buying, it suits a category J machine, and then you know that will fit. Bobbins especially are very important to make sure that you get right. Now, also in your accessory pack, you will get 3 different size spool caps, and it's important to use the right size for the type of thread that you have got on. So I've got a large and a small here. So for example, if I'm using this size reel of thread, that one is too small. So it needs to match as close as possible to the reel of thread you're using. So in this case, it's a medium size spool cap, but you've got the 3 different sizes there depending on what thread you are using. So let's get started and go through threading up, winding a bobbin. Now, the spool pin, you can have vertical or horizontal, and again, some reels of thread will naturally come off better if you've got it this way, and some will just work better if you've got it horizontal, but you've got that versatility there. And you're going to pop your thread on and then find the matching spool cap that suits the size of the reel best and place it over the top. You want it tight enough so that the reel of thread isn't moving around too much, but not so tight that the thread doesn't actually come off the reel. And for winding your bobbin, we're going to start here, and then this metal at the back here is the tension. So this is one of the most important bits to get your thread around, and then you've got these 2 guides along the back and then over to your bobbin winder. Now if you flick that across, it'll come up on the screen that you are in bobbin winding mode. And this little plastic thing here, this has actually got a thread cutter in, so just avoid this when we are threading up for your bobbin. Now when you're threading up, it's a good idea to use both hands, one keeping that thread tight and the other guiding it around, because that just helps give you some tension and to make sure that it does get into the slots that it needs to get into. So you're going to come around this little guide here and then around the back of your tension discs, and then through this guide, that guide. Okay. Now on the bobbins, on the top, there is a small little hole just on the top plastic here. The best way to get a good tension every time on your bobbin is to take your thread and place it through that hole in the middle, like so. So it looks something like that. Place that on your bobbin winder, and then you want to hold this excess thread not so tight that the bobbin sort of stops winding, but tight enough so that it doesn't disappear out of your hand. And you basically just need to fill the top half enough so you no longer see the middle. So these bobbins, they fill up this top section first before then continuing all the way down. And once that bit's done, you can just snip off that excess thread and then carry on winding using the start-stop button on the screen. There is a speed control for the bobbin winder, so on the screen here you can actually slow it down. So depending, you might want to do that if it's a different type of thread. And if you're filling the bobbin completely, it will come to a stop when it's full, or you can stop at any time if you don't need a full bobbin. Flip that across, and then I just used that thread cutter there to cut the thread, and there you've got your bobbin wound. So to thread up the top, you need to make sure that your presser foot is in the up position first of all, and you're going to start off the same. So start off through this guide here, and again keep it tight with your right hand so you've got something to pull against, and you're going to come the other way this time. So you're going to take your thread around from right to left around this tension here, and then all the way down like so. And then you're going to come around here, up the top, down here, and then you've got a guide at the top of your needle, and then your needle threader. So you bring your needle threader all the way down like so. Okay, and then to insert your bobbin, you're going to pull your bobbin cover off, and the bobbins need to go in so the Pfaff logo is pointing upwards like so. Place that in. It's an idea to hold it with your right hand just to help give you again some tension, just to make sure that that thread is clicking into all those guides in there. Bring the thread around like so and place it into this guide here. Pop the cover back on, give that thread a pull, and that cuts it for you, and then we are ready to start sewing. Okay, so we are now threaded up, ready to go. So let's just go through the screen, what some of those symbols mean, and then start seeing some of these features in action as we start to sew as well. So like I said, it is a colour touch screen. You can use your finger or you can use a stylus that comes with the machine. Now on here is all the information you need. So when you turn the machine on, it'll always default to a straight stitch, and your stitch is displayed here. And these two dotted lines either side indicate the sort of the stitch width. So you can see that currently the straight stitch is right in the middle of the maximum sort of stitch width of the machine. Here we have got our stitch width or position in this case, because we are on a straight stitch. If I move these up or down, you can see that it actually is moving my needle position and moving that stitch on the screen as well. So it gives you a good visual of whereabouts that is going to be in relation. On a zigzag or a decorative stitch, that would be the width of the stitch. You've then got your stitch length here, so you can take that up or down depending on what you're doing. Every stitch will have a default setting, and that will be set for a medium weight fabric. So regardless of what you choose, every stitch has a default setting for its length, width and tension. Now of course you can override those depending on what you're doing, and you'll notice that what's happened is that it's actually changed to green as opposed to white. So that's indicating that I have adjusted the settings away from its default. And then this last one here is your tension, and it's your top tension. So if you do need to tweak it, you can. Here is the foot that it is recommending for that particular stitch, and on every foot that comes with the machine, you will notice it has got a little 0 and A on these two sections here, and that relates to what the machine is telling me. And for some stitches it's really important that you do change your presser foot accordingly, especially the decorative stitching. So always double check the foot that it's recommending on screen for the stitch you've chosen. And then this symbol here is telling me that it is okay to use the IDT with this particular stitch. And now if I was to choose a stitch that it wasn't recommended to use IDT with, such as a buttonhole for example, then you'll notice that that symbol will disappear. And then this one in the top right hand corner is your free motion settings. Now you've got 4 different options for free motion, and that depends on what foot you're using. So you've got your spring action, your sensomatic. Your sensomatic is what we sort of floats on top of the machine, and then you've got your free motion ruler work as well, and that will automatically drop the feed dogs for you when you select that. So to select your stitch, all your stitches are in this menu here. So you've got 2 rows of 4 little lines, and that brings up your stitches nice and clear. If you hit on this menu here, it brings them all up, and they're all put into different categories to make it easier for you to find when searching for a particular stitch. So you can see we've got utility stitches, and within that there are 4 different subcategories. So all your over edge stitches are together, all your buttonhole stitches are together, and again if you move on to quilt stitches, you've got hand look, stippling. Some of these menus may not appear if you're using the 710 because there are some additional stitches on the 720 compared to the 710, but they're all along here. Alternatively, you can just scroll through page by page using these arrows along the bottom here. Select your stitch and there it is. So like I've said, we have got an automatic presser lift, so there's no lever to lift the foot up and down. You can just start sewing by using your foot control, so tap your foot on the foot control and the foot will lower down, and that will adjust to the height of the fabric accordingly. Or you can use these buttons on the side, on the front of the machine here. So pop your foot down, and then if you select this button here, which is your needle down button, you'll notice that it does actually light up on the machine, so that's indicating me that I have got that set. And now every time when I finish with the needle down, the foot lifts up ever so slightly so you can pivot your fabric. Now you can turn that off if you go into settings. You've got automatic presser foot lift. So there might be times when you don't want the foot to lift up automatically every time you put your needle down, and you can go into settings and just turn that off like so. Just untick the box or tick it if you need to. So you don't have to press OK and it goes back to your main screen. So you don't have to have that on. However, it is really useful if you are having to do a lot of corners and turning around as you're sewing. Now your speed control is this button here, so if you push it once, it'll automatically go to a set speed. If you hold it down, you'll then get your menu of sort of your different speed sets. So you can take it right down to the slowest setting. Okay. And you can see just in the top corner here, it's telling me what speed I'm currently on. If I push that speed control again, that turns off and it will be back to full speed, normal speed. It doesn't matter how much you put your foot down, it will go, you'll put your foot right down, it will go at its fastest speed, sorry. But because I've set it to the slowest speed, if I push that now, it remembers what speed I've set it to. So it's a quick way of going from your fastest speed to a set speed. So you don't have to have it on its slowest, you can have it on its sort of a middle speed. Or if you want to change it, you hold it down and you can change it. So I tend to have it on about a half speed, press OK, and again it's indicating me that I'm on my half speed. If I push that off, it means it's on its full speed setting. When it's on its full speed setting, if you're using your foot control, you can control it a little bit like an accelerator on a car. The more you put your foot down, the quicker it will go. But you've got your flexibility there to have it set at all times. So I'm going to push that one, and I'm going to start going at this half speed. And I'm going to stop, and because my needle down, you can see that foot's lifted ever so slightly, so I can turn so a little bit more. And then we've got your reverse button here. So again, you can use it whilst you're sewing. You'll notice that a little light comes up, or you can push it before you start sewing. And again, that light is indicating that I'm in reverse. So when I press go, it is going to go backwards. Okay, until I turn that off. We've then got your scissor button here. If you hit that, that cuts the threads for you, lifts the foot, and you can just pull your fabric out with a little tail behind the back, like so. Now, if we go into a pattern, okay, and again, this has told me to change my foot to the 2A foot. So if I just find that in my bag of accessories. So the 2A foot, you'll notice, has not got the guide at the back for the IDT. So generally this is used for decorative stitches where you can't use your IDT. So just remember to disengage that. But what it has got underneath, it's got a nice recess underneath the foot to help guide over some of these decorative stitching, especially the satin stitches where the stitching can be quite dense. You don't want the foot getting caught. So it is important to change your foot. And there's another little symbol that has appeared, and this little rectangle here is telling me that I need to use something like a stabilizer, stitch and tear behind your fabric. And it is important, especially with the decorative stitching, it will change the result of how it looks. Because the fabric is moving around a lot more to create the stitch, you need some stabilizer behind it to help it look how it should at the end of it. So I'm going to start sewing, and now we've got this button here. Now this is your fix button. Now if you push this, you can either push this before you start sewing, or if you're pushing it as you're sewing, what it will do, it will stop automatically there and then. Okay, so I'm going to start sewing, and I'm going to push that, and it's going to sew on the spot, so it does a tie off and to secure the stitching. However, if I'm doing a decorative stitch, I'm just going to cut that away, you might end up with half a repeat, okay, so half a stitch, and it's not finished. So if you want it to always finish at the end of a pattern, so you get a full repeat, you can just use your scissor button. And what it'll do, you'll notice I've pushed it, it's highlighted the light there, but it carried on sewing for a little bit, and then it cuts the threads. And that way I know that it would have finished a full repeat of that stitch before it finished sewing. So you have got some options here. So this along the bottom, along the sort of right hand side, you can set it to always do a tie off at the start and at the end, and to cut as well. So it might be that you do always want it to do a tie off when you start sewing, and it saves you having to push that button all the time. So you can set the machine to do that, and that's on that second menu here. The third one then is our sequencing. So this is where you can create, you can put different patterns of stitching together to create something new. And again, you're just going to go into your menu, and you can choose a decorative stitch, or you can go into fonts. So you've got your fonts come up here, choose which one you want to work with, and then you've got the keyboard that comes up. And along the bottom here, you've got lowercase, uppercase, symbols, and then numbers. You've also got a space bar as well. So you can scroll through and type in whatever you want, press OK, and then that brings that into the sequencing. So the sequencing essentially is like a blank piece of paper where you are inputting different things to create a new sequence of stitching. You can then, of course, add decorative stitching, and what it does, it will bring in just one repeat of that stitch. Okay, so it will just bring in one repeat, so you can then go in and add something else if you wish to, like so. Okay, you can add in ties here and automatically to cut at the end, and you can add in a stop. However, if you're happy, you can just press OK, and then it brings it up on the main screen for you to then stitch out. And that will keep on repeating until you tell it to stop. So I tend to use my scissors, but you can just repeat it and repeat it until you want to stop. If you go in there and you want to delete, you've got your bin down in the right hand corner here. If it's a stitch that you know you're going to use time and time again, you can actually save it to the machine by using this love heart in the top right hand corner here, and you've got your personal menu where you can save stitches there. So yeah, easy to get hold of again if you know it's a stitch you're going to use time and time again. And to find them, they're in the stitch menu, and you've got the very last one here, which is your personal menu, which is your saved stitches. So it might not be that you've designed the stitch. It might be that, for example, let's just go back to a zigzag. It might be that you have adjusted a zigzag stitch to a setting that you know you're going to use time and time again, whether you've adjusted the width and the length to something that you know is going to be a stitch that you use on a regular basis. Rather than having to change these settings every time, you can save that to your personal menu. You select one of these, okay, and it loads in there. So then I can go on to a different stitch. So next time I go to sew, I can just go into my stitch menu, scroll to my love heart, and bring up that stitch that I know I'm going to use time and time again. So the saving to the machine isn't just about a sequence of stitching, a pattern you've created. It could be just down to a normal stitch that you have adjusted the settings to, and it just makes it that little bit easier when you are going back to it to find it again. Now, there is a really nice little quick help on the machine, and it's this question mark here in the left hand corner. So if you're ever unsure of what one of those things might be on the screen, you can hit the question mark and you'll know you've hit it because the little cursor comes up with a question mark, and you can tap on the symbol and it comes up with a quick explanation of what that is. So that's really useful to have as a quick help guide if you ever do get stuck and you can't sort of get to your instruction book at hand. So don't forget you've got that there. Now, we are on a buttonhole, and the buttonhole foot I will show you because it is slightly different. So a lot of machines will come with a buttonhole foot where you put your button in the back, which are great, they work really well, but you are limited to size. So the buttonhole that comes with the Pfaff Expression, it actually plugs into the machine, and you can do up to about a 50mm buttonhole, I believe. So you can go much bigger. And they actually plug into the machine. Now, I've selected a buttonhole stitch, but because I've not plugged this machine in, it's telling me to change foot. Obviously, I've got the 5A foot here, which this one is. So I'm going to clip it on like so, and then this jack goes into the port up into the machine, and you can normally hear it click into place. So something has changed on my screen now that I've got it plugged in, and it is this here. So this is now changed to the length, okay, and a reverse symbol has come off. So if I just unplug this, it says, if I just pull that out, so this has changed and you've got a reverse symbol here. So you can do it manually. If you're doing it manually, then you use your reverse button. However, I want to use my foot, so once I plug that in, that disappears because it's going to do it automatically for me. And then this is the length. So this is where you set the machine to what length you want your buttonhole to do. So let me just go all the way up to the top. So I believe, it's 48, so 48mm buttonhole, I was close. So you can take it up to whatever size you want, like so. And then there is a little red arrow on the foot that you need to line up with the sort of the cutout on the metal here. And you're ready to sew your buttonhole. Again, use a stabilizer. Now I tend to use the start stop button for this, just because it will do it all in one movement for me. Let me just snip that loose end of thread out the way, like so. And it will stop when it's ready to stop, so I haven't got to worry about taking my foot off the foot control too soon. And it goes back up the other way, does it tack down stitch, and then does the satin stitch over the top. Okay, and then I can just cut that away. And there is your buttonhole. Okay, so we've covered all the basics to get you going with your new Expression sewing machine. Hopefully you can watch this time and time again if you need to, and please do look out for more videos to help you with the next steps and to get into more detail of some of the features on these machines.